Some disappearances happen quietly, with no alarms, no screaming, no warning. One moment a man is home, and the next the world swallows him whole. And sometimes the people who save us are the ones nobody expected to matter. Welcome back to Acts of Kindness Stories, where real kindness writes the best stories. The morning sun had barely lifted itself over the rooftops when 70-year-old Simeon Blake stepped out of his house for the last time that anyone would see him whole. He didn't slam the door, didn't pack a bag, didn't leave a note. He simply walked. Simeon Blake was not an ordinary man. For decades he had been a respected civil engineer, one of those quiet builders whose fingerprints live inside roads, bridges, water systems, and schools long after their names fade from memory. He believed deeply in community service. He volunteered. He mentored young engineers and apprentices. He fixed things for free when towns couldn't afford repairs. People trusted him. But dementia is cruel in the way it ignores reputation. At first it came in small waves, forgotten keys, repeated questions, moments where his eyes searched for answers that used to come easily. The first time he got lost, it was a bus driver who noticed his confusion, kept him safe, and called his family because he could still remember his wife's contact number. Everyone hoped that would be the worst of it. They were wrong. That morning, Simeon walked until the streets felt unfamiliar. Hunger gnawed at him. Confusion pressed in. And somewhere between memory and fear, he wandered into a popular roadside restaurant. At the counter, surrounded by bright menus and impatient customers, he stood barefoot, trembling, clutching nothing but the confusion in his chest. "I don't have money," he said softly. "Please, can I have just one donut?" The room fell awkwardly quiet. That was when Mrs. Rita Benson saw him. Rita was not known for kindness. In fact, she hadn't spoken to Simeon's family in years. Old disagreements, hurt pride, words that were never taken back. The kind of silence that grows sharp edges over time. But when she saw him there, this once proud man reduced to pleading like a lost child, something cracked inside her. He paid for the donut. And then, as quickly as he had appeared, Simeon disappeared. Barefoot, alone, vanished into the streets. Rita stood frozen. Her heart pounded with one terrible thought. What if something happens to him, and I said nothing? It took her hours to gather the courage. She rehearsed the call a dozen times. What would she say? How would they react? Would they blame her? But when she finally called Simeon's daughter, it was already too late. He was gone. Panic spread through the family like fire through dry grass. They searched everywhere. For 3 days the family lived on fear and hope alone. Posters went up. Social media exploded with pleas. Police stations were visited. Streets were combed. And cruelty showed its face. Strangers asked how much ransom they were willing to pay. Fake callers claimed he was being held hostage, demanding millions. Some people mocked them. Others blamed them. But 2 people refused to stop searching. The first was Simeon's second son, and the young woman standing beside him. She was only 19, still in school. And to Simeon's extended family, she was not acceptable. She wasn't the polished, wealthy, picture-perfect trophy wife they imagined. She didn't look the part, didn't sound the part, didn't fit their expectations. Some whispered that she was obsessed with him. Others said she was a distraction. But when Simeon went missing, she left everything. Her classes, her comfort, her routine. For 3 full days she sat in the front passenger seat of the car, eyes scanning every road like a hawk. She held posters. She walked into bus parks. She approached drivers with trembling hands and tear-filled eyes. "Please," she begged. "If you see him, please help us." One driver remembered her clearly. He would later say, the way she cried, "I thought the missing man was her own father." She never corrected him. Because love doesn't always need blood to explain itself. The second hero was a man most people ignored every day. A bus driver. His name was Moses. Moses was the only surviving man in his family. 3 sisters behind him, no brothers beside him. He carried responsibility quietly like a second spine. And deep down he longed for someone he could call his own. On the 3rd morning before dawn fully broke, Moses saw a figure by the roadside near a public park. A man, barely clothed, bruised, weak. Passengers protested immediately. "He's mad. He smells. Don't let him on." But when the man spoke, when he begged softly for a lift, Moses looked closer. And his heart dropped. It was him. The man from the poster. The man the young girl had cried for. The missing engineer. Moses silenced the passengers. He called his office, stepped down from duty, and chose compassion over convenience. When the family received the call, they didn't believe it. Until they saw him. Simeon Blake, injured, exhausted but alive. Tears broke something open that had been locked tight for days. Neighbors cried. Friends gathered. Hope returned. The insults didn't matter anymore. The cruelty didn't win. Goodness had. Money and gifts poured in for Moses. Strangers thanked him. Communities praised him. But the most powerful moment came quietly. Simeon's wife held Moses' hands and said softly, "You are the only son in your family. And today you have found a brother on earth for life." Moses wept. Rita, the neighbor, stood among them, ashamed and relieved all at once. And in that moment old wounds healed. Words were forgiven. Families reconciled. Because kindness does something strange. It humbles pride. It rebuilds bridges. It brings together people who thought they'd never stand side by side again. And the young girl everyone dismissed? She stood quietly in the background, exhausted, tear-streaked, unrecognized. But she didn't need applause. She already knew who she was. Because kindness doesn't look for rewards. It doesn't demand acceptance. It doesn't wait for permission. And when you are good, and you do good, favors find their way back to you. Sometimes through strangers. Sometimes through pain. Sometimes through miracles. Kindness is mercy paid forward into the future. If this story touched your heart, restored your faith, or reminded you that good people still exist in this world, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories that celebrate humanity at its best. Drop a comment below saying kindness protects. And share this with someone who needs hope today. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next story.